Gentlemen, I'm English. My apologies for speaking to you in English today, but I had to bring my own beer. Maybe it's because you're German and you're a lady. Okay, anybody mind if I pour? Please watch. Anybody hungry? Anybody thirsty? Maybe. One moment. So today, I'm going to talk about experience, obviously. In here, we've got a bottle of water, and there I've got a bottle of beer. And that, in many ways, is the difference about food service and what we're going to talk about in the next 30 minutes, there or thereabouts. You have to guess what I used to do before I started Coverpoint. It's a bit of a giveaway in the jacket, but I trained originally as a chef, a cooker. In those days, it was an industry which had no real respect. It was very badly paid, it was very long hours. And what we have seen now is a big change in our industry as food has become more important. More important for a number of reasons. How many of you, and I'd like you to put your hands up, have gone shopping in the last 24 hours? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 30. How many of you eaten in the last 24 hours? It's quite a good question, isn't it? The power that we have now in our hands in terms of food service world is massive. And that power is something that you can use as well every day as an attraction to bring people into shopping centres, to hold them in leisure sites, to feed them as they go through transport terminals. Okay, moving on. How do I get it to move on? Pressing the button. Have a technical problem, I think. Could you just check? Thank you. There are some more slides. I don't want to hide them from you. Can you just, thank you. No.
Push the green button.
I did. It's fine.
Do it again.
Thank you. Now we're fine. Thank you. Always useful to have a technical man around, isn't it? Okay, so today what we're going to do is look at a few things. We're going to look at gastronomy in terms of the space, the amount of space that it takes up, some of the indicators in the marketplace. We're then going to look at day parts. And that's quite an important thing, so remember that, day parts. Then we're going to look at some of the big changes, and we've got a set of trends that we'd like to show you at the end, 15 of them, which I've got to do in just 30 minutes. So we're going to go quite quickly. So, gastronomy has increased. We all know that. Shopping centres, 100% growth in the space in shopping centres. That is nothing compared to what's going to happen in the next 10 years in your world. Without doubt, we are going to see more and more space given over to it. And for two reasons. One, because the customer, the guest, is going to want to eat more in your places. Because your places are going to be better at giving them space that they can enjoy. It won't be about basic food court. It will be about a town centre, a collection of restaurants that have fantastic architecture around them. And so in the old days, when you say, would you like to go and eat in a shopping centre, most people would say no. If you said to them now, would you like to go, or have you gone and eaten in a shopping centre, a lot of people will say yes, because the food has got better, the choice has got better, and the environment has got better. The second reason, Teresa, fantastic presentation. The second reason is because there is chaos and disruption coming to your world. That's not good news, is it, really? In the old days, you used to be able to put things in neat boxes. We have retailers. We have food service operators. We have commercialization. Now, we have retailers who do food service, who stop doing food service and then do something else. Restaurants that sit in shops, shops that sit in restaurants, hotels that aren't really hotels. What are the 3 questions you get asked when you arrive at a hotel anywhere in the world? Name, passport, credit card. Almost invariably. The same routine around the world. And if we don't change our industry's approach to you, the guest, we will not be able to satisfy that demand. The hotels of the future are not going to be the hotels of now, in the same way that the food service of the future is not what it is now. When you go out looking for something to eat, or choosing to take your wife, your husband, your partner, your lover, or if you're really risky, all of them at the same time, it'll be a big table, but it's worth it. If you choose to do that, you go out with 2 things. You go out to spend 2 things. One, obviously, is money. The other one is time. Time is more precious to many of you than the money you have in your pocket. If you are busy business people, and you all are, in many cases you will go and spend your money somewhere where you can know you can get something quickly. It's a business decision. I've got 15 minutes. I want something healthy. Where do I go? It's 50% more than McDonald's, but it's what I want. And so you spend the money. But more importantly, you give the time. The volume increase is going to get huge. The numbers in Germany haven't grown that much. The response times take a while. You build, they come. You build more, they start to turn up a bit more. They use it more often. They spend a bit more cash. On the basis of that graph, you wouldn't go away and build loads of food service. But that's what's happened. That is the amount of food service space, gastronomy, as a percentage of the total GLA of shopping centres. 1995, it was about 3%. We're hitting peak now at about 15% on the biggest, and then it's going to grow. For those of you that work in Asia, or have worked in Asia, you will be familiar with shopping centres with 30 and 35% of their floor space dedicated to HoReCa, to gastronomy, to food service. We probably won't get to that point because we have big, substantial town and city centres with their own infrastructure. But there's certainly growth that still needs to be delivered there. Some Experian data. This is all about consumer spending growth. The UK leads on that graph. France comes second. Germany third. Italy, unfortunately, Italy hasn't been looking so good. The fact is that that consumer growth is driven, a lot of it, by out-of-home food expenditure. The change from buying grocery to buying food out of home. The French figures are almost entirely down to that, as people are changing their lifestyle because they have to. Okay, experience. Let's just try that test again. Just spend a minute and just watch me, yeah? It's really very good. Is anybody else? No? Experience is the thing that sticks it together. The environments that we create, the design of the space is one thing. The operator, the chef, the cooker, the brand, that's another thing. But the environment and all of those other things come together to create a space in which people then enjoy experiences. And that is why, when you add food service into that, it becomes entertainment, it becomes exciting, it becomes something you desire, and you desire to go back and do again and again. The experience part is very hard to deliver because it's a chemical reaction of all the things working together. And by the way, experience is not Facebook, just in case anybody's wondering about that. It's not just about recording it and telling other people. Although there is a very nice piece of research from a restaurant company in the US that have mapped the service times 10 years ago and now in the restaurants that were around then and are around now, and service now takes 20% longer than it used to then. They took the video footage from their restaurants and they analyzed it. And that 20% is entirely down to you, the guest. Because when you arrive in the restaurant, the first thing you do is you photograph it. Not unsurprisingly. The second thing you do is you get the menu out and you photograph that. When you finish doing that, you then order, which takes a little bit longer because you've spent your time doing other things. And then when the food arrives, guess what you do then? You photograph it. That same restaurant operator has had an increase in the number of complaints about the food being cold. So you photographed it. I was in a restaurant 2 weeks ago in Paris, and there was a delightful table of Chinese people, the new tourism boom. There were 6 people around a table. One of them stood on his chair with the biggest camera I have ever seen, and from above photographed the entire table, which is okay, but at 150 euros a head, it's not the sort of behavior you'd expect to see very often. So, this went up on Twitter earlier. I don't know whether you saw it. That particular picture. By the way, Rudy, that is not a selfie, okay? Before you say it. This is all about day parts. This is the thing that we talk about. You know, I said to you how many of you shopped and then how many of you eat. Typically, we used to fall into 3 meals a day. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And a bit in the middle. Those 3 humps are changing now, and they're changing because you need to get in a car and drive 150 kilometers, or get on a train, or do something else. So the restaurant market has also changed, and it's had to. Because actually, when you want to eat is when you want to buy food, not when the restaurants want to sell it to you. And so the BLD, the breakfast, lunch, dinner restaurants, are the ones that are finding it hard. And the ADED, the all day, every day, the people that provide a menu from the beginning to the end are the ones that do the biggest turnover, because they give you what you want. And it might be just a snack, it might be a sandwich, it might be a piece of bread, it might be some coffee, or it might be a full meal. But the really important thing to remember about this is that it's a meal, not an amount of money. So, Judith, if we went out for dinner tonight, I should be so lucky, but if we did go out for dinner tonight, and we chose 3 restaurants in Berlin, we could spend 10 euros a head. Pretty basic, wouldn't be great, but it would be 10 euros. We could spend 100 euros a head, and it would be pretty good, I think. We could spend 500 euros a head, and it would probably be no better than the 100 euros, but, okay? So that's 20 euros, 200 euros, or 1,000 euros for 2 of us to go out for dinner. But it's only 1 meal. So every time a customer comes into your shopping center, you have the opportunity to sell them something cheap, something middle, or something expensive. Yeah? There's that range. But once you're full, you're full. Once you've eaten the food, you can't then go and spend more on food easily. So do you question why you keep building food courts that sell people the cheapest food possible? Why would you do that? If your rent is driven by the turnover of the operators, give them some variety, give them some choice, give them a range in which they can spend their money, because not everybody wants to spend €3.50. Some of them want to spend a bit more than that. Some of them want to have an experience. So it's about planning a range of offers within the space. Okay, The big changes. Well, I talked about chaos and disruption earlier. That's being driven by the guest. It's not being driven by us or by you. You are now out of control of your relationship with your customers. It's not nice, but it's true. They decide. They decide when they come to you, they decide what they want to buy, and they decide where they go. And the reason they do that is quite simple. It's that the access to technology gives them access all areas. 20 years ago, 10 years ago, if you came to Berlin and you stayed in this hotel, there was only one place, really, that you could get up-to-date information about where to eat. And that's Albert, the concierge. And you'd ask Albert, and if you were lucky, he would give you an impartial view. If you're unlucky, he's being paid by 6 restaurants to tell where you have to go and have your dinner. Now, you arrive, and within 2 minutes of looking at your iPhone, you have every recommendation under the sun as to where to go, where to eat. The technology has changed that. The other change is genuine craftsmanship. We have gone back to a world where people like real food. They actually love the skill, and they like to play and do it themselves. And that trend is changing massively how people are behaving. Tourism trips are now involving food trips. People are food tourists. They travel the world to go and see a city, but to also experience great restaurants, great bars, great food service within those spaces. And that's a big change as well. I never thought I'd say this, but especially to a room of 450 people who are German, but people actually go to the UK now to experience our food. Honestly. Yeah? Okay? So in my view, tick, we've finally made it. Then you look at the live young. The live young trend is massive because so many people are engaging at a lower level, at a lower age level than ever they used to. As the populations are getting older, they're still doing young things. And that is changing the profile of the types of spaces that people go to. In the old days, when you got older, you had less money. You went to the restaurants at 4 o'clock in the afternoon because they offered a cheap deal, and you went home and went to sleep. Now they've got all the money. They get the best tables, and they decide when they want to go home. And that is also driving this authenticity in our market, this change towards being really good at what we do. Here we go again. Perfect. So, 15 trends. Let's rock through them. First one, caring consumption. Remember this. This is what you do every day. You start to balance in your mind what you're eating. If I'm going to have a beer, I'd probably better be good tomorrow and have a light breakfast. So we're starting to think about what we're doing. We're starting to understand how to interrogate the information. We start to get food with information on the pack, or on the sandwich, or on the Coca-Cola. So we know that when we drink it, we're drinking 3 or 4 or 5 spoons of sugar when we drink it. So we're starting to care a little bit more. It doesn't mean we're obsessive, but we do the balance. The second one, it's all about me. You have become very picky. You like it your way. And it's about you deciding how you are going to eat and what you're going to eat. So in the old days, you would go to restaurants and whatever they had on the menu, you would decide, fine, I'll either buy that or I won't. Now, you're selecting items and sub-items because of dietary awareness, because of the knowledge that you have and you read about every day. And if you want to, you can have an app on your iPhone or any other Android device that will also tell you what you can and cannot eat. Give me what I want. Spice Girls, what I really, really want. Finished to my specification. Cooked the way I liked it. Self-selected ingredients. Burger King, many years ago, said you can have it your way. They tried it for a while. Miserable failure. Customers wanted it their way. The company couldn't keep up with it. It was too early. Now, you want it your way, you get it your way. Give you a good example. Most supermarkets now, Germany, England, Spain, France, Portugal, sell beef, as you would expect, at least 6 different ages of beef. 6. Straight cut, 12-day, 14-day, 28-day. Do you remember that 28-day steak we had? Fantastic. Or longer. That's just beef. Go and have a look in your supermarket at the choice of, I don't know, we're in Germany, sausages. Just go and have a look at the smoked sausage range and what is the difference between that. We now have this huge choice of ingredients so that people can choose exactly what they want. Low sugar, no sugar, high sugar if that's what they want. Invention and discovery. We constantly go back to the old world. We constantly rediscover brands that used to exist that we now want to buy again. And those brands are being picked up and dusted off and cleaned and pushed back out to the market again. So we reinvent the old. We look at some of the historical ways, the way that Mama used to cook, the way that food used to be produced, stone-baked pizza. And we are using new technologies and new formats to give us back some of that historical, what we used to do as children. Really important trend, this one, because it's driving people into places that they would never go to normally as they are discovering new things. Okay, technology. We can't eat online. Everybody knows that. But technology has had a profound impact on our industry. The most important thing, especially for you as shopping center people, is the use of technology to attract people to your food service offer. The last 10 shopping centers we visited in Germany, and we do a lot of work in Germany, the Mal guide was either electronic or on paper. And of those 10, 7 of them told us the name of the restaurant and its location. I can't remember the last time I chose a restaurant because of its location. I normally choose it because of its food, whether it's suitable for adults or children, whether it has a smoking area if I'm going with colleagues who smoke, whether it serves alcohol. Now, that's the reason I would go, whether it serves alcohol. Go back and have a look at some of your information that you put out there on your websites. It tells the consumer so little about what's on offer. But that same consumer, that same guest can go and look online when he's standing in your shopping center and find all the restaurants around about. And they tell him exactly what he needs to know. And that's where technology can and should help you. That's an iWatch. Just so you know. We bought 3 of them in our company. Don't tell the boss, okay? Don't tell him. But we bought them to test the new near-field communications payment technology. And in the UK, you can pay up to £30 now automatically by holding your watch up to a reader. It's transforming the food service industry in that sector where you have short day part, where you don't have a lot of time and you need to get through a sandwich bar really quickly. Absolutely transforming it. Okay, all the world's a stage. We talked about this earlier. This is where restaurants make everything visible. It's about showing off. It's about the food looking great. It comes with liquid nitrogen. When was the last time anybody drank liquid nitrogen? But you see it steaming with the food coming out, laid on a piece of stone. The theater is really important. It's all about showing off. Wi-Fi, crucial. If you want your restaurants to promote what they're doing, they need to use you as the customers to promote it. I've had a great meal in this restaurant. I've had a fantastic experience in this shopping center. Give them that Wi-Fi capability, they can do that. becomes quite interesting when you start talking about exclusivity and randomness. We talked earlier about chaos and disruption, but this trend is pervading our industry. It's running all the way through. And it's doing it because people get bored. Markets pop up. All these things that we talk about. The best restaurant in Berlin, yeah, been there, done it, tick. Do I go back? Probably not. I move on to the next one, like a locust. And this is the point, we're creating moments in time. So, the challenge for you is that you like to give long leases to your tenants. You like to give them 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. And the customer, the people who come through your door, are bored after 3 years. Yeah? Bit of a challenge. Spend less on building the restaurants to start with. Make it more creative. The people are there for the food. They're not there for the air conditioning ducts that are hidden in the ceiling. They're not there for a lot of the other things that we insist they do, that quite often aren't about safety, they are just about standard. Gourmetization, really simple. This is about people improving a basic product. Take a burger. Hams in Gluck, perfect example. A basic burger, McDonald's, Burger King, etc. They gourmetize it. They charge 3 times more for it. 12 euros, 14 euros, 15 euros. They take a pizza. They add special ingredients to it. It gets better. Big trend, big money. We start looking at this one. This is a collision. Profameters. It's an English word that I made up. It hasn't got into the dictionary yet. It is the joining together of the professionals in our industry and the amateurs in our industry coming together. People who used to be a lawyer for 20 years. And then they wake up one morning and go, I want to be a cooker. I'm going to be a chef. A year later, they've won a competition. They've opened a restaurant. They're successful. That is creating a very big change in what we're doing. Service mixology. All the different ways in which you can now get your food and drink. You can go and serve yourself. You can order yourself. You can use a card system. Gone are the days of having to have lots of people coming to your table, taking your order, bringing the food, and then waiting for you to pay. The mass market will not and cannot afford to pay people and charge as little as it does for the food that it puts on the table. So get used to it. The Vapianos of this world, the Nandos of this world are taking large chunks of the service experience and giving them to you. You're doing the work, but you're still paying for it. Fabulous business model. You do half the work and you pay for it. Brilliant. Astonishing abundance. You know this. This is all about restaurants everywhere. Under the sea, at the top of a tower, on a railway station, in an airport, in shopping centres, on high streets, in office buildings. It's everywhere. The choice and variety you have is massive. That trend's not going to change. All it's going to do is keep getting better. Okay. I was wondering whether I should talk about this one, coming to Germany, given that it's Oktoberfest in September. Is that right? Yeah. I'll get my head around that one soon, Ben. But the world's changed as well, where, yes, there's lots of volume drinking still goes on. People still drink a lot. But what we're seeing now in the alcohol consumption world is that we're actually seeing total volumes coming down. People are being much more specific and careful about what they're drinking. They care more about the quality rather than the quantity. So that's why we're seeing so many gin operations coming out, so many whiskey operations coming out now. Specialist craft beers, bottle beers, all of those other things. Asia. Asia is big. It's big in Germany. It's had a huge influence on food at the moment. In many cases, it's not regarded as being very high quality. You will see a second and third wave of fantastic food service coming from the Asian region as other countries release and you start to get used to their cuisines. Thai is going to be massive, but Vietnamese is going to be bigger, we believe, and other countries following. Korean as well. Very healthy, very quick to produce, very fresh, in line with the other trends. So, 2 to go. Anti-brands. People are beginning to wonder about the brands that they've used for years. It doesn't mean that Starbucks is dead. It doesn't mean that Coca-Cola is no more. But they know that there are choices, and those choices are often based around quality and service as opposed to international brand. So when you travel the world, you go to somewhere that you know if you want the comfort of buying a product that you understand. If you don't, you're going to experience and try something else. But we are seeing a big change in this, and it's no reason why people like Starbucks are now trialing unbranded stores across the US with different food products to see whether or not, compared to their existing branded stores, they can achieve a higher spend for that same cup of coffee, pretending to be an artisan coffee shop. It's a really interesting trend. The last one, dining diversity, and we touched on this earlier. This is the collision of all different types of customers, all in the same space. Students, older people, families, business people, all sitting in the same restaurant at the same time. That diversity seldom used to happen. It now comes together much, much more, which means you have to build spaces that suit them, because the students want power, and they want Wi-Fi, and they want big tables so they can all sit together. And the older people want comfortable furniture. They're not so bothered about the Wi-Fi, although some of them are. But this is a really important part of what's going on, building spaces for people that they can all enjoy together. Okay. Let's read that. They used to eat what we gave them. We built it, they came. Not anymore. They avoid, they chase, they engage, they buy, but they do all of that the way they want to. And what we're understanding now is that it's always on their terms. You have to work the way they want to work to keep them happy. And we say that the consumer, the guest, is firmly in control. If you ignore that, we believe that food service in the wrong locations will die. You have to listen to them. Thank you very much, everybody.